Audience we have here today. We're going to get started in just a few minutes, but to make Dave happy, I'm going to read you this long list of things that are on sale. So tonight, you probably all got the VIP sale coupon, which is the upstairs at Burger Bar, which is on the 7th floor, 8th floor, 7th floor, 6th floor. Avoid right up to Burger Bar, and that's where the books will be, and that's where he will be to sign the books. So with that, I want to introduce our chef, and it's exciting for a lot of us here. Even yesterday we had a chef doing a demo, and we were talking, I don't know how it came up, but Chef Keller's name came up, and he said that he was mentioned in an article once. This is the chef at Comstock. I can never say that. Comstock. I always say Comcast. Comstock. He said that his name was mentioned once with Chef Keller. It was one of the greatest honors that he ever had as a chef in his career. And that just tells you how important Chef Keller is, not only in San Francisco, but to French cuisine. We all know him well. He is the host of his own show, which is Chef Secrets on PBS. He is the owner of Fleur in Las Vegas and a owner of Fleur de Lis here in San Francisco for over 25 years, which they went out on top this year. He is the top chef judge for Just Desserts, and it goes on, and he is now an author. We are thrilled to have with us tonight in the cellar, Chef Hubert Keller.
Thank you so much. That was quite an introduction. I hardly recognize myself in it. But again, welcome tonight, and I think we actually have an intimate group here, so I think for the cooking demo, I think if anyone has a question, I think it's intimate enough tonight that really I will be able to answer everyone's questions, I hope, and the needs. And I want to introduce you Richard, which is right here. He's our general manager at Burger Bar, and then Emilio, which is the chef, and they're going to be also my assistants tonight. So yeah, and I guess you have seen in front of you that what I've decided on doing during the demonstration is for several reasons. One, it's probably because Paella, for the ones who Paella, like we say in France, for the ones who are familiar with and for the ones who are not that familiar with, I think it's probably one of the best dishes to entertain when it comes for entertainment. And why is that? Because I think Paella is really that Spanish dish that has so many components in it, so it can be a little bit intimidating when it comes to how many ingredients and items are in there. But in the same time, what I recommend is really something you should do at home. Give it a shot, and you will see. I break it down tonight, so when you see all these ingredients, you're probably going to say, oh my God, I'm never going to make it to that point. But it's very simple, but the whole idea is really have everything ready the way I have it today, and you will see there's no tricks, no stuff that we're doing ahead of time, except I cooked a little bit of rice, and I will explain you why, so that we're not standing here and waiting for 20 minutes for the rice. But otherwise, the idea is really, you have your pot ready in your kitchen, you have your friends over, you give them a cocktail, maybe give them a second cocktail, and then everybody smiles and is in a good mood, and then you're going to show off how well you can cook at home, right? And probably if you have one cocktail too, it makes a little bit more of these too, but the whole idea is literally a performance in front of your guests, and in about half an hour, 30-40 minutes, the whole dish is together, and that can be easily for 12 people. You can have somebody help you. You can have 2 pots going, so it's amazing. And why it's amazing? Because the experience that you will have at home eating the paella is definitely not the experience you have in a restaurant. Paella also reheats very well, but when it's really fresh, that it's the best. And most of the time, or almost always, what you have in a restaurant, it's heated up. It's still good if it's properly heated up, but what we'll have at home, and I'll show you tonight why, when the mussels, when everything opens up to the moment and you're serving it, that's the perfect dish. So, that said, I think we're gonna start. I'm gonna put some heat under my pots here. So ingredient-wise, it goes anywhere from chicken to pork ribs to chorizo to prawns, mussels, clams. I mean, you can see we have squid. So there's lots of stuff, right? But imagine when everything comes in that pot. And again, when I'm talking about you have very often, you have coq au vin, you have cassoulet, you have, I mean, you have all these dishes, right, Navarre agneau, all these things that very often we cooking as a stew, but very often it's kind of cheated, right, because even when you make a coq au vin, you cook your little pearl onions nicely on the side, you cook the mushrooms on the side, you want to make sure everything looks good, but the bottom line is really, that is the dish where everything really cooks together and everything, all those flavors are shared. So that's the main thing, I think, from that dish. And so, yeah, I guess I was thinking on an amazing dish, but then maybe we're going in another department here. It's some of you are maybe familiar. I've done it on my cooking show also at Secret of a Chef. It's in even in my first book when I published Cuisine of Hubert Keller, is the Back Off, which is really, probably some of you know the dish. That is another dish by excellence, really, that works because you put everything in the oven, all the ingredients are in there, you take it out and you serve it. And that's an authentic real dish. And the paella is another one of those authentic dishes. So, first of all, I'm going to get a little heat under that pot. And I have a cast iron, I have a cast iron pan here. And of course, I'm not going to go into details about which pot you should buy, right? I don't want to run in trouble with either Macys or with my own, or my own producer or sponsor for my show, right? But I must say, cast iron is really one of those amazing pots that always kind of works. And besides that, there are lots of other pots around also. So first of all, I have my squid. I'm just going to start off with that and going to lower that in the pan. And we're going to start cooking that up. So imagine, literally, yeah, your friends are, you're at home, you're starting cooking. That's how we're starting, really. You have your pot going, you have all the ingredients ready, and that alone, I think if your friends are coming in the kitchen and they see you, everything prepped, they're already trusting you, right? You're already coming across like a great chef, right? Because everything is ready, right? And so that's the main thing. And so, first I'm going to get those going here. Once my squid is going, I have some chicken over here. So here I have some chicken breast. You can use a whole chicken that you just cut in 8, right? And I will put the little salt and pepper over those items. Okay, so a little salt, a little pepper. And I'm just going to put that on both sides. Okay, once we are on that, there we go. With salt and pepper, squid is going. I want to make sure we are on our maximum. Yes. And that one is going too. So again, it is pretty simple so far. And it looks like the Spaniards, they had it figured out, was a great dish, is really working at how many ingredients it takes, right, to put into something. But you can eventually leave one item out if you don't like it or you cannot find it. You can add another item in there, right? You could easily, when it comes to chicken, you can substitute the chicken, or you can have the chicken, you can have rabbit. I'm sure these guys use a little bit rabbit also once in a while, which is really a white meat, it's excellent. You can use a little bit of turkey. I mean, you can really play with it. And some of the shellfish you can leave inside, outside. I'm using prawns, I have mussels, clams. You can really lift it up. You can use a little langoustine, you can use lobster. So imagine for the holidays that are coming up, you can really boost it up at its maximum, right? So once that's going, I just want to explain you when I said it's one single pot, one single dish going out. So of course, normally now I would wait until they're searing up a little bit, then I will cook my onions as I'll show you, and then I will start on searing the chicken in that same pan. But today, just to speed it up a little bit, I have a pot going here. So that just, I wouldn't call it cheating, but I think it's just that to understand that the idea can be done in the pot. But like I said here, I'm just going to start off, just to speed it up a little bit. I'm going to start on cooking it up over here. And then when you sear up the chicken, always the skin side down. Why? Because I didn't put too much oil in there just to get it started. but then when you put the skin side down, the skin starts on melting, and you start cooking in its own fat. And as we know, probably chicken fat is one of the, I shouldn't say one of the best fat for your health, but it's definitely a great fat when you start cooking something. You can, like I said, even as you know, rendering chicken fat and cooking your French fries in it, and then you're really ending up with a great wonder at French fries, right? But it's really, really a great fat. Okay, so I think my squid is basically ready here. The chicken is going. So now I'm going to remove the squid carefully. I'm just going to remove the squid, put them on a little plate. All right. And once I'm here, we're just going to start off without waiting. I'm just going to put a little bit of more olive oil in there. A little bit more olive oil. And we're going to lower our onions into the pot. So again, pretty simple so far. We have our squid first, then I have the onions, then I have some garlic, and I put the garlic in there too. And then once I have that, now I'm starting to sear up those onions very gently, and really the beauty of that is already, now it starts smelling really good in your house, right? And I think everybody gets really excited. They can already kind of taste what's going to come up. So it's kind of really, really great because it's really a build-up. And again, you will see the time I'm doing it here. It's not like you're completely overwhelmed, right? When your friends are already around. In the opposite, if one of your friends wants to help or jump on the stove or does something, it brings really your party together. So now I'm gonna flip those. I make sure my onions are doing well. Okay, they do. And again, we're gonna give them a nice little sear, and of course the searing up already is going to eliminate a little bit of fat. It's going to bring more flavors when you're caramelizing the chicken. And imagine later on when everything goes in that pot, you're literally going to create a wonder in that pot. So the main point here is you want to make sure the onions are not burning, because when I say burning means if they get too dark, and you would think, oh my God, we have so many ingredients that I'm adding, it's not important, I'm just going to cover up, right? So never do that, right? Because that's probably the biggest mistake, because once the onions are getting kind of burned and have that bit of flavor, you can add the best ingredients over it. At the end of it, you will taste that burning thing in the sauce. So again, once at that stage, and it really happens, just make sure that one of your friends jumps in and chop up some more onions and start over again. Because otherwise, you really would ruin the whole experience. Okay, so once I'm on that stage here, so now what I'm doing, and the chicken is basically ready. That's what we want. I'm gonna put now the squid back in. So now we're putting the squid in here. Is there any questions so far?
You mixing fish with chicken?
I'm sorry?
You mixing squid with chicken?
Yes. The question was, are we mixing the squid with the chicken? And yes, that's the whole idea about an unbelievable paella. That's what it really is. Oh. And we're adding in some pork ribs in it. So yeah, so the party's not over yet. So, so once I have that, so let me start on pouring some of the broth over it. So the chicken broth that I have here is, when I cut the chicken in part, I put some little carrots, some onions, or you can just use some chicken broth that you buy, right? But you can also put the little shells from the prawns, everything in it, and then you're having that broth that I'm using right for that base. So what I'm going to do now I'm just doing what you're calling like deglazing the pan. And then you can see already how much flavor really comes into that in that dish. That dish also has an interesting story. The reason why I call it the paella from my friend Frenchy the Freak. He's actually a very dear friend. He's also a DJ in San Francisco. And when I met Frenchy, he is French, of course, with an Frenchy, but originally from his parents and grandparents are from Spain. And when I met him, he's actually, Frenchy is the one who introduced me of me actually DJing also for a little bit once in a while and having a good time with it. But at the same time, we were talking about cooking. And very often when you meet someone on the beginning, someone new, and of course we're always talking about cooking and what everybody does at home, and then we really became good friends. And one day he invited us with my wife, which actually sits right here, Chantal. We get invited over his house, and we're not quite sure what we're really going to get, right? Because sometimes I could tell you plenty of stories, or my wife could tell you stories. Sometimes I invited in a house, and it's actually pretty fun sometimes what happens. But that's like another subject. But as soon as we walked in his kitchen, I could really see that he's actually a serious chef, in the sense of he had everything that's on the shelf here, but actually everything was used up. Everything is used, he uses everything, is every fine tuning. And then he said, I'm doing a paella from my grandparents' recipe, and he did it like I'm doing it at front of you. It was outside, we were several friends, and as I could see how he was building up the dish, and I could really see the step he's taking and how he does everything, I understood that actually if he would not have been a DJ, he would have been a chef probably. So he did it so well. And actually the final thing when we actually ate it paella, it was so good that I included his recipe in my book and even had it on my cooking show, because it really was one of those great dishes, right? That I felt like I had to share those dishes. So that's about the paella today. So you can see what I did. We have a wonderful start over here. Now I'm just going to add some tomatoes over it. So again, we're going to add little by little. We're going to add some stuff to really build it up. And so now I have some ribs. So here on the ribs, those are pork ribs. I took a little shortcut. I seared them off a little bit before. I remember when I was searing up the chicken, either here or in that pan, and you take it out and you put then the ribs inside, right? So that is the idea. You're searing up the ribs, and now we're putting the ribs in here too. So far I think it's pretty exciting, and I think it's almost unbelievable everything we're putting in that dish, right? But again, the magic of it is at the end when you're tasting it and when everything comes nicely together.
I didn't understand how you made the juice there in the pot.
So the juice is either you just buy some chicken broth in a can,
okay,
or when you cut the chicken, when you shell the prawns, little carrot, little onion, you make your own little stock. So that's something you can do. It's a little extra work before, but it works. Or you just buy the chicken stock and then you go ahead with it. Great.
So you boil the chicken to make the juice.
The juice, that's correct. So now I'm putting a little bit of thyme in it, right? So it starts on looking, I think it starts on looking really good. So now, of course, in order to have a paella, we have to use a Spanish product, which is saffron, and it's probably, as we know, it's the most expensive spice that we're using. But again, you only use so little per dish, right? So that's why they always put them in little packages and little boxes. It's probably more expensive than any drugs you can buy on the street. So that was a bad joke, but that's what it is, right? It's probably very, very expensive, but what it is, it's actually, for the ones who are not familiar with, I want to see if you see it on camera, or maybe over here. Can you see it right here? No? How about you?
Is it like pepper? Is it
So
like...
it's actually, those are pistils of a flower. And imagine they're really picking pistil per pistil and then they're drying it, and that's the saffron. And then when you go in some stores and you're buying a saffron, very often you can also buy it in powder. And sometimes it's not that expensive and you wonder why it's not more expensive. And sometimes it's very expensive and it's powder, and half of the time it's not saffron. So I think if you already spend the money and you want to cook with it, go with the one, because then you know it's nothing fake. Because the other one, that just, whatever it is in it, it's sometimes the saffron just gives the color. And then of course when you cook with saffron, everything turns yellow. Not only is the flavor there, but it turns yellow. But that's literally flower pistils that are picked little by one and then dried. And I'll put that back, so lock it up. So, but I will put that now into my broth, and that's really will add lots of characters, yeah, to my paella. So once I'm at that stage, I'm gonna let that cook. For about 15 to 20 minutes in real. But here we're going to speed it up a little bit. But at least I want to give them some heat. I want to let it simmer a little bit. So once that's going, I want to show you what in Spain they're also serving with a paella. Because of course Spain, they're known for tapas, right? That's really it comes from, and tapas has little bites. So what they like to do also with a paella, they're taking a little crouton, and Emilio's I'm gonna show you one, and Emilio's gonna continue. What they do is actually pretty neat and cute. Not only, you would think, isn't that enough already, right, when you have as food, but as you know, they always need another little twist, a little extra, because it's really an event, right? It's something when you're celebrating friends and food, it's abundance, right? And it's almost like a food orgy, right, in that pan going on. But you always need something extra. And here it's about texture also. So what they do, they take croutons, and then after that they're taking a little bit of garlic. They just rub the garlic they rub the crouton with garlic, and then they're taking tomatoes, and they're just taking tomatoes, and they rub the crouton with the tomato. So again, the tomato gets a little bit soggy in the center because it's something you do on the last minute, right? And then they're taking some really great Serrano ham. So talking about like another addition here, right, of flavors. And we're putting a little bit of Serrano ham on it, and you're creating a little crostini, and that's what actually, as you're eating, enjoying the paella, you eat these little crostinis. So that's another item. So Emilio, if you want to make those crostinis. So now let's take a quick look what's happening in our pot here. It looks pretty cool, huh? And then you see how, with the moisture, how the saffron starts on melting, and you will see it will start on coloring everything little by little into a nice yellow color. So now we are supposing that that has cooked for about 20 minutes. Now comes the moment we're adding the rice to it. So the rice, again, you see it's one of those elements where a couple of bay leaves, I can put some bay leaves inside. So the rice is really, again, that's why the reason I'm saying that when you eat it in a restaurant, you usually order the paella, and at least like 15 minutes later you get it, right? So everything has to be pre-cooked, the chicken has to be pre-cooked, everything. So that's why, but when you do it that way, now you're really cooking the rice with everything in it. Of course, during the demonstration today, I'm only going to put a little bit rice to get the idea of when to put it in. And I have some cooked one behind me that I will add into it, so you can see the build-up and the texture. So, but the real idea is really, with all the broth, right, you just put the rice over, and like I said, I don't want to put everything in it, it's just to give you the idea. And then I'm adding the chorizo, those little Spanish sausages, right, which have a little spice into it. So I'm going to add those. So I'm still amazed, yeah, how much ingredients, and let's not get intimidated by the amount of ingredients, right, because you're probably going to say, my God, I'm never going to put so many ingredients together, I have to shop for everything. But again, it's okay if you leave one out or the other. It's not the end of the world. I think it's the whole idea still to cook something together where all the flavors are shared and mixed. So I'm gonna add a little bit more broth into it, because now I'm adding the cooked rice, so you get to see how everything comes together. So you could see right now I would actually cover up and leave it for about 15 minutes, and you will see the rice really soaks up all the liquid, and then we continue. So I'm just gonna, that's the only time I'm cheating today. I'm just gonna add a little bit of that rice in it. So then you get to see what's really happening in my pot. Is there any questions so far?
So,
what type of rice do you like to use there?
It's arboreal rice. It's you can use the one which is short kernels, right? But if you don't have access to that particular rice, that rice has more like a binder effect, or when you make like a risotto, right? But if you have the long grain rice, it's still gonna work, right? So if what I try to say, if you cannot get that particular rice by itself, don't say I'm not gonna do that dish. Just use the long rice, and it's still gonna be a fabulous dish. Okay.
We have a question in the back. Then.
Yes.
Is the chicken, were you just searing it and then it's gonna boil in the pan, or do you finish cooking it and then it's just simmering? Like, is the chicken already cooked by the time you add the rice in, or is it?
No. Good question. Yeah. So the chicken, really, the whole idea is you give them a really nice sear, and you're caramelizing the skin and the meats, right? But you don't cook it completely in the pan. It's just to give them the nice color and the nice flavor, and then you transfer it in here. And that's the reason why earlier I said once the chicken is in it and I put the broth, everything over, that's when you start on cooking it for about 15 to 20 minutes. So now the chicken really starts on cooking and shares its flavor.
She had a question.
So I wanted to ask you, I know you were making the chicken on the side, when you put the broth in with the onions and garlic, do you basically eyeball it so you're just right at the level of the onions, and then that's the amount of broth that you put in, and then when you put the chicken in,
Yes.
with the rice, I know the rice is going to need a little bit more. Do you then eyeball it again and just put it at the level of the rice, or what is your secret?
Then you have to watch my show Secret of the Chef.
I haven't seen that.
I'm sharing that recipe. No, the real secret, but it was actually a very good question, because it can be intimidating, because the highest, very often any recipe, when you add a liquid, when you have depends on the pot, depends on the lid, depends on the heat of the fire. Here again, you don't have to be afraid too close. I would always have a little extra stock, and at the last thing, you always have the extra stock right here, right? Just use a little bit of water, because again, you use so many great ingredients that even if you add a little bit of water, it's going to be fabulous, right? So, but to answer the question is yes. You start on putting your liquid in there, and now the thing starts on cooking. You just keep a close eye to it. That's why I was looking a little bit and I add a little broth. So the idea, a little bit less is better. Now it starts on cooking, and if for some reason you would see that the rice is a little bit dry, just take a little, put on top. Almost like when you do a risotto, right? Where you add a bit moisture and another little bit moisture. So it's better little by little, because at that stage now, it's just to keep the moistness in there, right? So it's a good question, but you're just eyeballing the whole thing, and you always can add a bit more liquid to it. How are we doing here? Great. Okay. So now that we are on that stage, now I have just a few more ingredients to make it really happening. So I have some clams, I have some prawns. And that's when you have some, let's say, sea scallops, little sea scallops. You have the little pétoncle, right, the baby scallops also. Even with the shell, right, it would really totally be great. So that's when, and then again, that's what I'm saying, when your friends are here, that's going to be, even now, everybody smells it, and then you're going to be the wow factor, right, because I will show you after. We're literally going to open up the mussels, clams, everything in there. So everything is happening in that pot. So let's say I need one more item over here. So those are little piquillo peppers. You can use regular bell peppers, right? But since we're doing a Spanish dish, those are these little small peppers from Spain, which are called piquillo. And they're kind of a little sweet flavor to it. They're kind of neat. But again, if you use some regular bell pepper, roast them before, right? Make sure you roast the peppers before, and then after that, we're just gonna add them to the end. Why roasting before? Because now we're really hitting the end of our dish, and you don't want anything raw in there. So, and if you will put some peppers on the beginning, almost the flavor will be lost. So it's nicer to roast them, have them ready like we have them, and now like 10 minutes before you sprinkle them over, and I guarantee you it's like when you're adding some basil. Let's say if I would have added basil on the beginning of my dish, there's no basil in the paella, but as an example, if you cook it all the way to the end, that basil flavor is gone. But if you, before serving it, you sprinkle that basil over it, just a perfume, right? Everybody knows there's basil in it. So with the peppers, in that case, it's the same idea. So let me quickly remove the magic lid here. So what we're doing, again, now comes the time that your friends are standing around. We're like just like 10 minutes away. So now I'm just adding the shells. And that's what they do in restaurants. That's exactly what they do. They have everything pre-cooked ahead, right? And I'm not talking bad about restaurants or serving paella, right? But I just want to tell you, if you really make it right and you can make it home, that's what they do in restaurants. The last moment, and not all of them are actually doing it. On the last moment, they have everything pre-cooked, and then they're putting the shells in it. But we're going to really cook them right here. So now, I'm also adding the prawns. So imagine the feast here. All right. Can everybody see it on the screen?
The screen is dying.
The screen is dying. Oh my God. So the magic is right now here. Otherwise, I'm gonna walk in the alley. You can see it. I'm gonna come over. If we're not back with the screen, I'm coming over and show you what's happening in my pot.
It's better. You can see it better.
Is it better?
Yes.
What time is it now? Actually, we basically did the paella in half an hour, right? So even with the talking, right? So once I have that, I'm just gonna cover up, and now I want to make sure that it really seals nicely, and then I want to make sure that the shells are opening up, and then I will show you the final product. So we're good on that. So now literally when your friends are here, so everybody stands around the pot, gets another glass of wine or something, and waits until those muscles are opening up. Just don't give them too much wine. You want them to remember your dish right the next day. Otherwise they won't even remember, right? So once we're on that stage, I give them like 5 minutes, and then we'll see how things are really opening up. So I have a little sample for you tonight also already, as you can imagine, but I hope you're not too disappointed. I talked you out so much about the paella, but you have to imagine that would be a hard one to put a little sample in a little dish because there's so much stuff in it. So I probably leave you with the visual and the flavor and the odor of it, but the perfume of it. But we have some amazing milkshakes that we produced at Burger Bar. We have a whole sampler. So as soon as we almost run, we're going to pass you some great milkshakes. So at least you're not going to walk away from the class without any sample, but that would have been a tough one to really get you the right feel of it. But I really want to encourage you to do it at home. So I just briefly want to show you again. You see how the muscles start opening up, and they're going to be nice. You see how plump those are? And that's usually not what you're getting in a restaurant very often, right? But that's when it opens up, you can see the liquid runs out, and then the liquid goes straight into the paella, right? The clams are just starting here. You can see how they started opening up and how nice and plump they are. So again, just another 5 minutes, and our paella is ready. And then I'm probably going to walk in the middle here so everyone can smell it and inhale it. at least you know it's something real. And I just have a little. And we have some green peas. They're going to come in just at the last moment, just for the color. So, like I said, we have like another 2 minutes until that comes out. Is there any other question? Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's chicken. Then there's fish, and then there is the sausage. Is that pork or beef?
Ribs and sausage pork, yes.
Yeah, so you have beef, pork, fish, prawns, and oh my God, there's like.
And you have the recipe. On every chair, there's a recipe.
Oh, there's.
Mr. Humphrey.
Actually, yes, sir.
Chef, I haven't seen you stir anything, and I take it stirring is a no-no with this dish. Is that right?
Yes, you basically, if you have the right pot, usually the paella they stir because they have a thin pot and it burns, right? Sometimes, right? Or sometimes it gets a little crisp, which is okay too. But it's a little crisp when you have it finished, right? But you really don't have to stir it, except a little bit when you put the rice in at the end. You want to see if the rice is cooked. You want to see how much liquid is in between when the rice soaks in. That's when you kind of open up a little bit. But otherwise, really stirring it, no. You don't really have to, you shouldn't know. Yes?
In the recipe for the shrimp, it said that the heads were on, the tails were peeled, and the shells were reserved.
Yes.
But when you were putting it there, at least from a distance, it looked like the heads were gone.
You're right.
Talk about the shrimp process.
Yes. Good question. In the recipe on the beginning, the first 4 or 5 lines, I'm giving the recipe how to make that broth, where it says you're using the head, and the reason why I'm saying buying with the head and with the shell is because we know the more flavor is in the head, right, on the shrimp. So you're peeling the shrimp, you're taking the heads off, you're using the bones from the chicken, and everything from the shellfish to the bones, you put everything in a pot with your water, with a little bit of tomato, carrot, and onion, and you're creating the stock. So you still use that, yes. Or if you wish, you can actually put the prawn with the heads right in here, right? That would work also, right? So, yeah. But that was, yes.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Regarding saffron, my understanding is that the Spanish saffron is really excellent, but isn't Iranian saffron also very excellent too?
Absolutely.
Is that any more available than it used to be? It was really hard to find.
I think it's a little hard to find. I don't know if there's some political issues there or something, but I think they're hard to find. The Spanish, you can find it, right? So it's like Iranian caviar, right? It's also sometimes hard to find, right? When you really, but their saffron is totally on the level of the Spanish saffron. Absolutely, yes.
Talk about the book, Chef, if you can. How did the book come about?
So yes, so I'm going to talk about the book. In the same time, I will show you the final product, because now you can see that everything starts on opening nicely.
That's peas.
And then the book by itself, yes, it's called Souvenir. So the book is really the story of my life, and it's in the same time also story of my life. But also you have 120 recipes, and the recipes are going anywhere from the paella that you see here, and see, I want to show you when these clams are opening up, or when you eat them, you can see how they're still really totally nice and plump, and you don't get the little piece of rubber. So let me quickly walk down the line, so everybody can, like I said, inhale the paella, and at the same time, I will talk very quickly about the book as well. So here we go. So I want to make sure everybody can see it. So see how the dish looks.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I think it's really, yeah, it's really. All right. There we go.
This is minimum $100 recipe. There's so many ingredients.
It's a $100 recipe, and you're feeding an army with it. As you can see, we started serving the milkshake. Those are really a signature of Burger Bar, so they're coming. But about the book, yeah, it's about the souvenirs. It's about story of my life. When I started talking about story of my life, I started feeling really old, right? But I had to go over that. And then, so it really starts off, I felt like where I grew up in Alsace, what we were eating when Grandma was cooking at home. And it's not one of those fabulous stories that when you say, oh, I learned everything from my mom and everything. My mom didn't know how to cook, it's true, and she's French, right? But my parents were always busy with the store, with the patisserie, but Grandma was actually raising us and cooked for the whole family. So I have recipes in there from the beginning on, really rustic, and because very often when we're talking about French food, right, we very often thinking French people eat only rack of lamb and filet mignon and all that. That's not true, right? That's usually reserved on the very upper crust, or in international 3-star restaurants, right, eating it. But I think people eat things like that, and when you were mentioning, I was saying that's like $100 recipe here, you have to imagine when these recipes came together, the mussels, the clams, all that stuff just came right from the fishermen, right? It was almost nothing in matter of money. So those how these dishes were created, but many of those dishes really are real stews, things that we're cooking, that really coming back today, right, that we were eating. And then gradually, as I started my apprenticeship, then when I continue, then so the chapters are in my childhood, the food memories, then mentorship when I became an apprentice as a chef, and then then when I met Chantal, my wife, so there's a love chapter in there also. And after that, when we started moving out, moving to South America, moved to the United States, branched out, and the finale is today where we are, between San Francisco and Las Vegas, and then same time there's a beautiful Christmas chapter in it, really, where I have lots of original Christmas recipes in there, and that really you can use over Christmas. So that's about the souvenir book. So again, I hope you enjoyed everything today. I really want to thank you for being here on a Sunday night, especially when it gets dark outside. Oh, here we go. Cheers to everyone. Cheers. And then if you wish, I will go up to Burger Bar if some of you want either a book or just stopping by to say hi, we can take a picture together. Or if you want to have a bite to eat at Burger Bar, we put your little cards down here so you get a 10% off on everything you're eating and drinking. So have a great time, and like I said, thanks again for being here, and I see you later on at Burger Bar.
Thank you, Chef Keller.
Happy holidays.
Our book is for sale upstairs, and Chef Keller is going to be up at the Burger Bar. And so, if you want to have
What
your book
floor?
signed,
What floor?
on the 6th floor. So he's going to be up there right now.
All right.
Right now he is.
Right now I'm going up there. Thank you again. Yes.
So who's tasting the paella? Nobody?
Sorry.
Nobody's gonna taste?
That one, no, we don't go into rice, because there's some of the raw rice in it.
It's okay.
But, yeah. All right, I will see you upstairs.